More now on the Blue Origin rocket, which exploded in a massive fireball during a test just in the last 24 hours. Jeff Bezos' company is competing with Elon Musk's SpaceX for NASA contracts, and this is a significant setback for the Amazon boss. Dr. Sara Webb is an astrophysicist from Swinburne University, and she joins us now from Melbourne. Sara, g'day. So this was a huge explosion. Is it probably the biggest launch pad explosion incident that you've seen?
It very well might be, actually. This was a phenomenal explosion. For anyone who has not seen it yet, the full footage of watching it go is it's breathtakingly shocking. In recent years, we have seen several different launch pad incidents, including with SpaceX and their Starship. But this one here was quite unique because what they were doing was a static test fire. So essentially igniting a small amount of fuel to test some subsystems, but not actually launching the rocket. And that footage, again, is I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in my career, and it really is sending shockwaves of, that's quite a huge explosion, quite a bit of damage that has been done to that launch complex as well.
Yeah, so the red glow from the explosion apparently could be seen hundreds of kilometres away, and houses shook in nearby Cape Canaveral. Take us through the composition of what it is that was actually exploding. Yeah, do you know how much of it was there, and what's in the fuel, and what else is going up?
Yes. So this particular rocket relies on a few different liquid fuels. So one is hydrogen, they also have oxygen, and then some other natural gases. And so what we're seeing here is likely that ignition of the hydrogen and the oxygen in a runaway explosion. And I absolutely believe that this would have been seen, heard, and felt for many, many kilometers. I was recently at this Space Center. This is right near Kennedy Space Center, watching a rocket launch. And even with an atypical smaller rocket launch, the shock and the vibrations is seen throughout the community. So this is quite an explosive event, and there was about 1,300 tons of liquid fuel aboard this particular craft at the time.
Wow. And so the liquid fuel, what was that comprised of?
So that was that liquid oxygen and the liquid hydrogen, which is a really unique type of rocket. This is slightly different to some previous rockets or some current rockets that are being tested. And what is so interesting about this particular rocket design is it's quite similar to SpaceX in many ways, where they're trying to make it reusable, trying to have parts that are able to come back and land on the ground and be used again and again and again. And so it is quite a devastating loss because this particular rocket could have been used in future tests, and now it is, of course, not usable anymore.
Yeah, and so just take us back through in a bit more detail what specifically was being tested in this operation, because the rocket was not actually going to be launched from the pad anyway.
That's right. So this is what we call a static test fire. So you can imagine on the pad we have the rocket in a configuration that it might be launched to space in, but it is tied down to the launch pad. But what they are testing is what happens if you ignite the fuel for just a second or two to understand the initial thrust force. And so this is something that has happened many, many times before in different rocketry. As a static test fire is an important step. What has happened here, though, and we don't have the exact details until the investigation, but likely something has happened when they've triggered the first release of that liquid fuel, and something has allowed it to ignite and combust on a runaway chain and actually pull apart the rocket that was holding and containing that fuel. And so it really is catastrophic. It is, again, phenomenal footage that we're seeing here on the screen now.
And so considering that the idea with this was not for anything to head up towards the sky, was the 1,300 tonnes of fuel that you mentioned, is that generally what is just there for takeoff? Or is it, like, if the rocket was going further than takeoff, would there have been much more than those 1,300 tonnes?
So 1,300 tons is approximately what's in just the first stage of this rocket. So rockets often have multiple stages. So indeed, if it was heading out to space, say to Luna, it would have a significant amount more fuel on board.
Wow. So the company says it's not clear just what went wrong, and has described it only as an anomaly. It sure was. Well, it sure was. What are the things that can go wrong with these operations?
There's a multitude of things. If anyone has the privilege to look at some of the rocketry up close, if anyone gets to go or explore online, the amount of intricate detailing with wires, with signals, with passes and valves, it is so fundamentally complex, and any one thing can have a catastrophic failure. And so here, potentially, there's a range of things that could have happened. One of them could have been structural in the rocket itself. There could have been a structural integrity issue, and that could have allowed this to happen. It could have also been something with the wiring, whether there was too much electricity running through parts that it wasn't meant to. Again, just a myriad of things can go wrong, and it really goes to show how hard space is, how hard space engineering is to get something to work how we expect it to, and to work fundamentally right every time. It's tricky. So it is a loss for Blue Origin here.
Yeah, and so do you put this in the category of we expect challenges like this along the way? Because we often hear that when there are malfunctions with space exploration. Or is this more, this is a massive setback for the Blue Origin company?
So I think I put it into two buckets. We do expect things like this when we are innovating in engineering, and this was certainly a new type class of rocket, as it only had 3 previous launches before, and so there is a lot to learn here. But often these things teach us all of this valuable information to help make the next iterations better and better and more safe. The problem here, though, is that not only did the rocket explode, but it's actually damaged initially from some initial reports, it's likely damaged that launch pad. So this is launch pad 36C on Cape Canaveral, part of Space Force's base, but an integral part to many different launch facilities that are needed. And so if this launch pad has been impacted significantly, it now means that there will need to be repairs and build up to make this now safe enough to do any further tests or launches from. So I think it's a bit of both. We expect things to go wrong in space sometimes when we're testing. This is why space is hard and why it's fundamental we do many tests, but it is definitely a setback here.
Also like, whoa. Now to some more positive news regarding space. Some of your experiments are actually up in the International Space Station right now. What can you tell us about that? When did they go up, and what can you tell us about those?
So they launched on May 15th, just down the road from this stunning explosion on Launch Pad 40.
And just a couple of weeks ago.
Just a couple of weeks ago, and they launched on a SpaceX rocket, one of the reusable Falcon 9s. They docked with the International Space Station a couple of days later, and currently we have one experiment that is actively being monitored by astronauts, which is just fundamental. We're looking at how plants grow and understanding how root direction changes under certain conditions. And then we have another experiment, which is a very fun one because it's one that we're hoping to bring back to Australia and into the hands of everybody in Australia through a new company we've launched called Launch Labs, and this will be educational kits for all. So keep an eye out because that announcement will be coming in a few months.
Wow, well, I don't want to spoil that announcement, but just back to the plants thing for a moment. What can you tell us about that? Did someone here in Australia put a seed in some soil and send it over to Cape Canaveral, or what's involved in that?
So it was me and one of my phenomenal students, honour students, Elizabeth, who were actually planting these seeds in agar, so a clear agar solution. And we really want to see that root grow. So often when you plant seeds, you'll start to see the sprout head towards the light. And it's no coincidence. Plants are very smart. They can tell which way is down and where the light is coming from. And what we're trying to test is, can we trick that root to grow in the direction of water rather than in the direction of gravity? Because obviously in space, you have microgravity. And so it was me and my student Lizzie working at that NASA facility there, actually planting dozens and dozens of little seeds in these vials that are now up there being beautifully looked after by the wonderful astronauts aboard the ISS.
Wow, I just got goosebumps. How cool is it for you to think these little seeds that you planted are up there right now?
It is the coolest thing. I have one of the best jobs in the world, and every second day when I wake up and I see photos in my inbox of how they're going, I get even more excited. It's wonderful to see we've created little plant life growing on board the space station, and then it will be coming right back home.
Wow, that is so cool. I'm so happy for you. And yeah, looking forward to your news regarding the other experiment as well.
I'll keep you updated.
Okay, Sara Webb there in Melbourne.